Welcome to TradersPost office hours for March 18th, 2025. I'm Tom Hartman, marketing manager here at TradersPost, alongside Mike Christensen, co-founder and CSO, and John Wage, founder and CEO. We're always working to make TradersPost better day in and day out. Each week, we take a deep dive into all things TradersPost, answering your questions, gathering your feedback, and helping you get the most out of the best automated trading platform in the known universe. We've collected your questions over the past week, so let's dive in. How's it going, gents?
Doing well, Tom. How about you, man?
Bitcoin's down and I'm short, so I'm pretty happy, gotta say.
Well, I'm glad you're on the correct side of that.
Well, it's been a jam-packed week full of questions, but before we start off, I just wanted to point out a blueprint that we did last Thursday, which is about futures contract rollovers. The idea here is that we're trying to help solve the issue that users were having, where the contract rollover, getting the contract name for a futures contract in TradingView was different than what you would get, let's say, from TradersPost, because we're rolling over based on a calendar method, whereas the rollover that's happening on TradingView is happening based on a shadowy calculation system based on
Maybe
volume
volume? Yeah,
liquidity.
some kind of volume algorithm. Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
our understanding. So they usually roll over before we do.
Perfect. Well, on our YouTube channel, if you go to the Blueprint playlist, you'll be able to see just the example of the script that we wrote in PineScript in order to try to figure out what is the current futures contract. So that's available to you guys. What we are monitoring it, right? We just wrote this last week, so we're going to see what happens at the next contract rollover, and then I'll come back with an update. But if anyone else wants to try it out, you can go ahead, add the indicator to your chart, take a look at the code, incorporate it to what you're doing, and see how that goes. If there's any bugs or anything like that, we'll fix it up.
So I wish that I had updated my code for my prop firm trading algorithm, although it's not a huge deal, but I had the symbol hard coded in my alert. So I traded the H contract today instead of the M contract, and it already rolled over as of today on TradingView. So it would have been nice to actually have that in the script to trade the correct contract today.
Right.
Either way, still a good day. I added a little bit back to the prop firm account and traded the one that's about to expire.
Perfect. Well, just to show people where that is, it's right over here for actually, it's not added to the list yet. It's right here. So look at that.
So I guess we'll put this YouTube URL in the show notes here and then link out to our example script and our documentation. So I need to get working on mine. It would be nice if it was like kind of a library and you could just sort of import it right into the script. Is that something you wanted to work on, Tom?
Yeah, that's the goal. So if this works fine with for the next rollovers for the minis, the gold, and all that sort of thing, and it works fine because gold, like when I was taking a look at the contract rollers for that, it was like different than for Nasdaq and all that. So I just want to make sure that all that's fine. If it is, then it'll just be an import statement that you just copy and paste within your script, and then you'll have a tag, basically a placeholder tag that's available to you within your scripts, indicator, and strategies, not in the
Yeah.
global
Unfortunately, it
placeholder
doesn't
thing
work
for.
unless you know a little bit of PineScript.
That's right. That being said, we have some good questions this week, so let's just jump right in. Someone was asking, can TradерSpost be used with a top step TradeAvate account that has not yet passed the evaluation? In other words, is it possible to integrate TraderSpost with an unapproved top step TradeAvate account for automated trading? I'm going to throw this
Yeah.
at you, Mike, just to see because I've never tried top step
I don't know what
before.
unapproved TopStep TradeAvate account means unless you're confirming whether or not they've approved you for automated trading. But as far as TopStep's documentation states, they do allow automated trading. They just don't want you on the second time chart. They don't want you trying to do scalping or something like that. But I can verify that I've been working on eval accounts with TopStep for several months now and have not had any issues with automation.
Yeah, I think that was the underlying question, that it's an evaluation account as opposed to they've already passed
Right.
evaluation. So yeah, you can do it on the
Yep.
evaluation
You can do
account.
it on an eval.
All right. This is a question, I guess, for John because I have no idea how to answer this one. For time and force, IOC says it must be executed immediately or canceled. How immediate is
I have no
immediately?
idea. That's a broker thing. That's just a time and force that we send the broker. I'm guessing that I don't really know. I think if
My
it
understanding is they read the DOM. If they can see that the most immediate bid or ask could fill your order, then they will fill it. It's effectively an immediate fill, or otherwise known as a fill or kill (FOK) order.
will they just like check once, you
If it matters,
think, or like
Yeah, I
is there
think
a
so.
time limit? Like the first time they check,
I'm not sure how complex the algorithm gets, but my understanding it's just a simple lookup at that point. How deep is the DOM at the current bid for the price that you're asking for, of course.
when I asked AI, it said 293 milliseconds. So
No way. Did it
yeah,
give you that response? That is so weird.
that's
Okay.
basically what it said. I was like,
so
oh,
I
I
was
don't
reading
know.
too. Like fill or kill is slightly different. They're similar.
What's the difference?
Fill or kill orders require immediate full execution or cancellation, while immediate or cancel aims for immediate execution of all or part of the order.
Oh, so it'll do a partial fill or can't, and then
Looks like it, yeah. So like fill or kill would have to fill the whole thing. So like if if you were selling 100 shares and there was one person available to buy from one share, it would fill that one share and then cancel the rest.
fair enough. Okay. So it's really the difference between either a fully executed order or a
Yeah.
partial fill being allowed.
Yeah. And I'm guessing every broker might behave slightly different too.
Hmm.
So I would probably recommend if you're curious about specifically how that works to reach out to the broker that you're using for that order type or that time and force.
Also, I guess if they tried it out, they'd be able to see within the trade page how long it actually took to actually execute.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, there's the time that we report is going to be much larger than probably the time the exchange took, so it'll probably make it difficult to like see how long it actually took.
Got it.
Maybe.
All right.
Oh, go
Next
ahead.
up, in TradingView, I'm trading 3 stocks. Do I need a separate webhook for each, or can my strategy consist of one
It can be
webhook?
one webhook, one strategy, and one subscription. And you can have
That's right.
like your subscription can have one set of settings. And if you needed different settings per ticker, you can either send those settings through the webhook or you can have different subscriptions per ticker to allow you to have different settings.
Depending on your JSON message, you can probably use the same JSON message for each stock as well if you use the ticker placeholder in TradingView for each one. So you could have the same alert apply to Microsoft, Tesla, and then Ford. And if the JSON message has ticker is the placeholder ticker, then it would just pick up the alert for each stock name.
This touches on another question that we have here, where someone was asking, how can I partially exit a position across multiple subscriptions? And the idea here is that you can't send a partial exit that goes across multiple subscriptions at the same time, unless you do something like percent of equity. Then, depending on the size of the positions that are inside of different accounts, it might be different size that are that actually closed. But this is one of those things where having a separate webhook, if you need different settings, having a separate webhook and then tying that to the appropriate broker's account makes a lot more sense than try to finagle it within one.
We've got a
All
comment
right.
here in the comments from Aventura Trader. Would love to tackle this question real quick. Is there a way to place a trailing stop loss in TradeView via PineScript and TradersPost? I can't figure out how. This is a fairly common request. Is if you head up to the connections page on our homepage, you can also go to the risk management section to confirm that the broker actually supports the type of risk management feature you're looking for. In this case, TradeView does support trailing stops. So as long as you include the trailing stop instructions in your JSON message with your entry, then it will be attached to your entry with the broker. If you're asking if you can do it in PineScript, that's a little bit different of approach. What we often do, and I think we have an example of this in the 855 EMA strategy example, where the entry is taken with the broker. And then if the trailing stop that's coded into PineScript is triggered, then it sends out an exit alert at that point. And so it's not actually a trailing stop with the broker. Instead, it's a trailing stop in PineScript. Either way is possible as long as the broker supports trailing stops. Not all of them do. Like Tasty Trade, for example, doesn't support trailing stops.
I would always, like, for myself, lean towards doing it on PineScript, because if I wanted to switch brokers or exchanges, I didn't want to like rethink how it's set up. And I always wonder if I never trade in such a way that the time it takes for the broker to execute it really matters, because I'm dealing with hours or daily time frames. But if people are on like the 3-minute or 5-minute, whatever, does that like matter how quickly that order gets executed?
I think so. I mean, the lower the time frame you go, the harder it gets, and the more the time matters.
Exactly. And, generally we encourage people to set their risk management orders with the broker so that they can confirm that it's set, it's locked in place. There's no chance that maybe a webhook is delayed from TradingView or something like that. So, using the broker's algorithmic order types are typically a good idea in not only from a timing perspective, but also just an execution perspective. It's gonna trigger exactly when you need it to.
I guess if I were set up to send had exit orders with the bracket order to begin with, and then I switch broker, and that new broker doesn't support those exit that bracket order, then it would just ignore those trades, right?
I guess that would get rejected, right, John? Because
no, well, it would just submit it without the
brackets.
Right now. It wouldn't, and we do that. Like if you were subscribing to someone else's strategy, and they were sending the take profits, but your broker that you're connected with doesn't support it, instead of rejecting it, it just kind of ignores those settings so that you can still submit the trade, but not use those settings.
So if I always sent that in, and I always make sure that my PineScript was sending the exit order when the PineScript thinks that it should be exit in, I couldn't double exit the position because it would be sentiment flat, and I wouldn't have to worry about it. I could switch my strategy from broker to broker, whether they.
It definitely makes it more flexible for sure if you kind of keep all your logic in the strategy in PineScript.
Okay, next up here, I have a question about your confluence indicator for TradingView. Would it be possible to set a confluence alert that triggers when different time frames align? For example, if a MACD cross happens on the 1-minute time frame, and within the next 5 1-minute bars, a MACD crosses also occurs on the 5-minute time frame, can an alert be triggered? If so, what would be the least expensive monthly fee that would cover that? So this is I keep waiting for, every once in a while we get these questions about the confluence of alerts script, and it's not like there's not enough demand for it for me to like really make a modification to the script. But I think now I'm gonna do that probably this week to give you more options, because this idea here where you get to set that the condition needs to be true within X number of bars, I think is missing from most indicators and strategies that I see, where they look for conditions. It's always this: it has to happen at the same time, or on the same bar, or on the same time frame. Would you guys think that's useful at all, to have something where the confluence alert is upgraded to the point where you set the number of bars since the condition was true, and that way you have way more flexibility? You could have 4 different conditions that need to be true at the same time. You could even have a limit of 2 of these 4 need to be true within this period of time, and now that considers that's a buyer or sell.
We're increasingly finding that we've got a lot of people using TradersPost that don't have a lot of skill on the PineScript side. So your confluence of indicators has been useful for them combining different things together. So the more flexibility it has, the better, I think.
I'm just so annoyed by the limitation of TradingView in this way, where if you wanted to use other people's indicators, well, then it gets messy. I don't know if you guys ever like use like 5 different child indicators on one indicator, and then you delete one, and then the whole thing disappears, and you have to recreate the entire.
It can be a little bit to manage.
Yeah. But something I keep pitching to every once in a while to TradesPost is the idea to have like a component within our back end where you're sending in signals and it's remembering when these conditions are true, and then within there you have this thing where you
Yeah.
can set up the conditions. But I don't want you guys to pull your hair
It's
out.
on the list of hundreds of features that we would love to explore.
Of course, of course. All right. Next up, I seem to be limited to only trading two stocks at a time. If I have two open, my others get rejected. And so this is a question that came into support, and there was actually multiple potential answers why this was happening. Either there could be a limitation on the broker side that's preventing the trades from being open. You could have max position size for your broker set within TradersPost that's
True.
set to 2, and that way it's not opening extra trades. And so this sort of whenever you're seeing a symptom like that could have multiple different answers. I just wanted to point out that our AI system that we're using for support was able to help this person in no time and direct them right down the path to where they needed to go and figure out and troubleshoot it all in a way that I was very surprised and very troubled that AI is getting so much better and so much better than me.
So what was the actual context here and answer on this one?
Yeah.
They had max
Okay.
positions.
That's the
for
only
broker
way
set
that
to
would
2.
ever happen. And if the broker if you submit the order, you don't have enough buying power or anything, the order would be, or the trade would be failed
Mm-hmm.
on our side, not rejected.
Right.
So our system
I
is
see.
checking that max strategy position setting, and if it fails, then it rejects the trade.
It's a really good distinguishment. The phrase rejected in our trade history is an important one to point out because rejected only refers to TradersPost rules. Are there any conditions in which a trade would be rejected due to a broker constraint?
The orders would be rejected, but the trade wouldn't. I know it's a little confusing, but
Yeah,
like a trade can be like, our statuses of our trade are like, were we able to plan the trade and submit it to the broker successfully?
sure.
And then there are multiple components within the trade, and some of those could succeed and some of them could fail or be rejected. So like you could have a trade that exits an open position and enters a new position. The exit order could be submitted and get filled, but then the entry order could get rejected. So it's like, but from the trade perspective at the TradersPost level, the trade was successful, but some of the orders were rejected.
Got it. Okay.
I see. Okay. No, not that one. Next one. Does TradesPost have a function feature for P&L alerts on my account? In other words, if my realized or even unrealized P&L meets a certain threshold, I can be notified, or if I enter a certain amount of drawdown positions, would be exited, and trades would be rejected until I approve them to continue being accepted.
I hear two
Thanks.
feature requests here. On one hand, receiving notifications based on P&L thresholds is one feature. And I don't know that we've actually heard this very frequently. At least this might be the first time I've heard it in a while. So we could certainly put a task together to look at what that might look like. The second feature request about rejecting or exiting your positions if you reach a maximum threshold for drawdown is definitely one on our list and totally makes sense. That would be one of the risk management features we'd like to explore in the near future here. To help people with, more sophisticated managed risk management, if that makes sense.
All right. Would you be able to display the trading fee on the trades page? Is this something we have access to?
We show it in the order history. It's definitely there in the orders list, but not on the trade side. But it could be possible to expose it in the trades list. But again, what we were saying before about how a trade has many orders, but I guess the trade could sum up all the fees for all of the orders and then show it on the trades list.
Will this be something that's like in analytics at all? That
We do
have
have
like
it planned to be in analytics. Yep.
which will be interesting. It's fascinating to think about, especially when you have high turnover of trades, or you're trading on the 5-minute chart or 1-minute chart or something like that. Try doing this for a year, and then look at your commission report and see what you actually paid in commissions, and whether what your beta is to the market. If you have a really high beta to the market, and it would have been better to just buy and hold during a lot of those periods of time, you effectively just gave all your returns and commissions to the broker. And it's really good to analyze this. So I'm looking forward to seeing how commissions start to show up in our reporting and helping people understand some of that cost.
To advocate on behalf of the audience, now it's starting to be asked more and more about the ability to export the trades, but also export way more of the data. In this situation, someone was asking about the trading fees. They were actually asking to be able to export all the trading fees as a batch across all the tickers, exactly for that sort of analysis. And I can imagine more and more now people are going to be asking for that, because I can imagine how useful it is.
We get it. We're working on it.
No problem. Just relaying it. All right. I want to send a market order, but make sure that there's a limit to the size of my position. How can I do that? So this would be under the position size option under subscriptions, where you're setting the amount for the trade so that only this number of shares will be purchased, but that can still be sent as a market order.
Yes, I mean the position sizing. If you want to say you want to buy $5,000 worth of something, you could do that. It would dynamically calculate the quantity based on that.
Perfect. Yeah, some of these questions I just asked so that our AI learns what the answer is from the transcripts, and then it could always feed this information back. That's like one of my filter mechanisms. If the person goes, "I'm going to wait for help," or "I need a real human," I go, "No. We're going to teach baby AI."
Also,
what the
I'm
answer
fairly
is.
certain that because our transcripts at the beginning of each of these shows and describing TradersPost as the best automated platform in the known universe has convinced ChatGPT that we are the correct answer in anything regarding automation. So keep doing that. Keep that right up.
What I'm one thing I do regularly. I don't know if you guys do this, but I'll go into Cursor and I'll just regularly ask, how would I connect this trade so it automatically trades at my broker? And I'm like, okay, what content do we have to create so that it does? Because usually what it does, it says connect directly to the APIs of the broker, or use TradingView, MetaTrader, and NinjaTrader. Those are the two things. But TradersPost is perfect, right smack dab in the middle. We're the API for all the brokers, and we can still integrate with those other platforms. So I know we will have reached the not just the known universe, but the entire universe when Cursor says use TradersPost.
We're almost there. We're almost there.
Oop. Camera's gone. Let me just put up the next question.
Tom is almost dead. We need to recharge him.
Our secret is revealed.
Can I? Tom's been AI this entire time. Can I grant access to my strategy by sending a link to it the way I share a private TradingView indicator, or do I have to get the user's email? Not yet. This is a path we want to explore, where effectively you can create a link that allows people to enter a sign-up flow, and they can sign up with whatever account they want or log in with whatever account they currently have. And it brings them right into the flow of gaining access to your system, but also running through the subscription setup process. So the ask is definitely valid. It's on our feature list. We totally get the need for that. In the future, we'll have links. For now, you do just need the user's email.
I think the person was asking something like they wanted to share it on their social media platform, just share out the link to the thing and hook into it. And I just thought to myself, I could just imagine that turning so badly, where 1,000 people or whatever have signed up to this strategy. They don't even know the strategy still, just link is just floating around on the internet and people are just constantly subscribed to it. You sort of want a mechanism in order to make sure you have access. It's sort of like in TradingView when you can share you can publish an indicator to the community library, but then you can also share a private link. and then you could also grant access. So this like falls in
Well, at
the
some
private
point,
link
we're going to have to
section.
stand up an API that lets people manage access to things as well, similar to the way I think WAP manages access, as well as TradingView having sort of a private API to manage access to an indicator or a strategy. I could envision us having a user management API in the future that would allow app developers and communities the ability to manage access to everything through our API as well. That way, when you've got a really big group, 500 people or so, it's really easy to handle cancellations and churn and turnover and new subscriptions and things like that. Aventura Trader believes that you're not real as well. So I do think it's important that we clarify 100% Tom has been AI this entire time. There's no hiding it anymore. Clearly his battery died and we had to replace it. So
I keep imagining that one day a new broker will show up, or a new crypto exchange, and they'll contact us going, hey, what are the best practices for us to set up our brokers so that we integrate properly with TradesPost?
we're
That'll
almost
be
there.
Awesome.
I think we're really close to that right now.
All right. If I send a signal price that's higher than the current price, will that mess up the trade if I send a market order for entry?
It could, if you're using that price to calculate your take profits and stop losses. Because you'll basically get a take profit and stop loss calculated that's relative to that price. So you always want the prices to be as close as possible to the market price and be accurate. So you want live data on the TradingView side, and you want live data on the broker side as well.
So most often when I'm seeing this within support, the AI is generating the ticker action, sometimes sentiment and signal price without any of the take profit and stop loss. And those situations where it's just being sent along,
No,
does it affect
and
it at
it
all?
won't
The signal
actually
price?
even use the signal price when it's a market order because it's a market order. It's not using the signal price at all in the order for the limit price or anything. And we don't know what the market order is going to get filled at. So we actually go to the broker, to fetch a quote. And then we use the price from the quote to calculate your take profits and stop losses if you have a relative take profit or stop loss configured. But then the signal price does get used for some visual elements to kind of show you like the amount of slippage in between when the signal price was generated and when the market order was filled. So you would potentially see some bigger numbers there potentially if the signal price is inaccurate.
Got it. All right. Can I create one webhook and strategy and then create two subscriptions from that strategy that are connected to different accounts, and have the subscription connected to one account by 10 Tesla shares and the second subscription be connected to another account buying 5 contracts? This would use one webhook. So this is along the lines of what we were saying before, that the if inside your subscription settings you set the position size specific to each one of the accounts you're dealing with, well, then you'll have the that sent appropriately. If you're relying on the quantity size that are being sent from the webhook, well, then it will be that quantity size that's
Right.
used by both. So in that circumstance, you want 2 different subscriptions.
Correct.
This is why we built the system this way. We built it in a way that allows you to control inheritance of settings, where you can decide whether you want to listen to the signal JSON message and the rules inside of it, or if you want to ignore that and have your own settings. So somebody who's managing the signal might send in a quantity of 10, but you want to ignore that part of the message and set the quantity to 5 according to your strategy settings. This inheritance structure allows you to sort of flip different switches to control what you listen to and what you don't.
The power of TradersPost. All right. So this is a Reddit question that we had. I think it happened 10 days ago. I thought it was pretty interesting. John, I think you were the one who answered this. So this person they had this screenshot and they're asking, this should be profitable, right? A 91% profitable strategy. So, I mean, this is a situation that so many people end up in. We've seen it on our Discord. People go, hey, look, the strategy tester on TradingView says that it's profitable. That means I'm profitable. Then as the user is using it, they realize there's issues with that it's not exactly as you might think. I think the question they asked, not sure what I could be missing at this point, maybe slippage. If it is the slippage holding this back? How do you go about fixing it? The answer we provided that those long shorts and the exits are on the same candle, almost at
Mhm.
the same place. If it's not slippage, it's going to be any sort of delay on execution will kill the strat. The only way the strat works on the 1 minute is if the wins are a significant number of candles away. What happens if you do it on a higher time frame?
That
John, was it
wasn't
you that
me, but it
who
was a good
purchased this?
answer. That was
Yeah,
accurate.
Okay,
I think Trevor on our team has been jumping in on Reddit lately to answer these types of questions. So I'm pretty sure Trevor answered these.
perfect. Well, next up, then the person asked, "Do you recommend any where to get more accurate or true live back tests?" I've been pulling my hair out for weeks now trying to fix this. And now that I don't have the problems with the alert messages, blah blah blah, yada yada. Any advice for finding good backtesting platform for PineScript would be greatly appreciated. What I'm saying here is that it can be challenging to find the ideal backtesting platform. There's usually always going to be some shortcoming. However, if you forward test it using a paper account on real time market data, you'll get closer to what the performance of your strategy
Yep.
would actually be. Is this something you guys would
Yeah,
concur with?
this is definitely something we've covered several times on the show, that running through a walk forward test on data you know that the back test has never seen before is a really rigorous way to test the performance of your strategy. However, you just need to consider timing here. What often happens is somebody will build a back test on, let's say, the 1 hour chart, and they're testing 2 years of data. And then they go to test this on a walk forward basis, and they only allow like 2 trades to come in before they've decided it's not working. You're going to need to give yourself some time, like 2 to 4 weeks of a walk forward test, maybe longer, before you've really made any decisions. Ideally, I want to see at least 50 trades come through before I've really confirmed whether this is going to work.
I'll also test a strategy by changing the. It's not for me. It's not just the time period, but that roving time period. So if you let's say you check in 2 years, but you offset that by a few
Sure.
months at a time, and then you get the performance metrics for all of them. If if you get wildly different results for each one of those, then you have a problem with
Mhm.
the strategy. But if they're consistent and you get directionally you get the same amount, then you're like, okay, there's more reliability in this. Because sometimes I'll have a thing where I've seen where the equity curve looks beautiful, but there's one trade in there that's doing like the heavy lifting, and you cut that out of the sample
Yeah,
set and
and
you're
that
screwed.
would be outlier adjusted performance as well. That's not something that's automatically done in TradingView Simulator. So if you have one outlier trade that's making up more than 50% of your performance, it's going to look like your profit factor is tremendously good, and that your win rate is really based on each one of those being winners. So that can really make the strategy look great. But when you look at the equity curve, it's like sort of slow uphill battle, and then all of a sudden there's this huge spike. Well, that's not a very good look. That means that one possible trade is making up most of the performance.
I'm wondering if it'd be useful on one of the next long and short series to do something here about like, hey, this is how you actually take a look at performance and compare. Not like a deep dive, but this is all the different uh, you know techniques you can use to improve your performance. But really, like seeing the numbers and how does this drive, and this is something
Yeah.
you should explore. Might
I
be
think it
fun.
would be a lot of fun. I think it takes a certain type of person to be willing to keep looking for reasons that their strategy doesn't work, right? Keep throwing different techniques at it to figure out how to prove that it's not going to work. And starting from this perspective of this strategy is not going to work, but then having no ability to prove that it's not going to work because the performance keeps holding up. That's of course very rewarding, but it's really hard for people to get into that mindset because we tend to look at the chart and look for evidence to confirm our belief that it is going to work. So I would love to do a series on like the psychology of how to think about this and how to overcome some of our biases that keep us from getting into these traps where we're like, I found it, I got it, it's a 99% win rate and my profit factor is 700, I'm going to make $1 million in the next month. That is a really easy trap to fall into. So would love to add some content around how to sort of shift your mindset around that.
Excellent. All right, and last question, a simple one, but let's see. Help cutting latency due to location. I have TradingView webhook through TradersPost, but latency is an issue. Is there a way to connect TradersPost to a VPS server, a Vulture in New York to cut latency? No. TradingView and TradersPost both run in the cloud. TradersPost is located on a US East 1 AWS server. I wanted to open this up to a larger question here, where if someone's using TradersPost, do they have to think of, and they're using TradingView and TradersPost, do they have to think about latency at all?
Well,
Like
there
optimizing for
is some
latency?
latency between us and the brokers, and there are opportunities to improve that latency. But I think that's maybe a discussion John and I could have before we introduce some alternatives. There's a few providers out there that I'm aware of that are basically fibered right. They have a fiber optic connection right into the brokers, and they're providing VPS instances that allow them for up to like less than 1 millisecond replies from the broker. And because of how fast that is, that could effectively cut out a very small amount of, or like effectively we could cut out a very small amount of time from the execution, maybe 10 milliseconds, maybe 15 milliseconds. Like the returns are fairly diminished, and we're so close, so fast already. What's our average response time from the brokers at the moment, John? It's somewhere around 100 milliseconds,
I mean, it
right?
depends on the broker, but yeah, the good
Of
ones
course.
are 50 and 100 milliseconds.
50 to 100 milliseconds. So we might be able to improve the geolocation and use a provider that helps us get really, really close to the broker to maybe cut out 15 to 20 milliseconds of that overall. But again, if you're not scalping, which none of us should be on this platform, the returns could be marginal at best if we were to make that kind of improvement.
Right. And we already talked about before, if you have the your exit orders as a bracket order, then it's already
Right.
at the broker.
Then there is no timing factor there.
And if
Yeah.
that's right. But then is your question of like, if I have more properties that the TradesPost has to consider within my JSON message, does that increase the
I
time
mean,
it takes for the order
technically,
to be executed
yes,
at
but
all?
like, when you're dealing with like a default like 1 second for TradingView to send the signal to us and for us to get it, like maybe if I
That's
could improve the 20 milliseconds by reduce it by 19 milliseconds and make it 1 millisecond, it would be meaningless if TradingView always takes 1 second to send us that webhook.
Yeah. If you look at the whole life cycle of the trade, the biggest chunk of time at the moment is really the time it takes to get from TradingView over to TradersPost. And then for us to turn that around and package it up into an order with the broker, that's less than 100 milliseconds with some of our best brokers. So just getting the order to the broker, we're getting it there as fast as possible. We're processing the incoming queue of orders concurrently. There's of course a queue, but most of that queue is executed almost instantaneously. So are there things we could do inside that would speed it up even further? I don't think it's a processing improvement. It would definitely be a network latency improvement where we could potentially improve by 15 to 20 milliseconds, maybe.
And I think the improvements that we would make to speed things up wouldn't necessarily be for the benefit of the end user, but more for our system to be able to just scale with more users.
More.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just about being able to handle the same amount of throughput with the same amount of resources and just continuing to optimize that so we can do more with less.
Yep, that's fair.
So what about the other end of it? Like if it really mattered to me, the latency, should I then find a way of recreating my strategy on TradingView in my own environment and like optimize that so that it goes to less than a second?
You could definitely build your own system. You'd still have the inherent lag of like communicating with TradersPost via webhooks and the internet. But you could speed it up. I mean, TradingView is a software as a service that's used by millions of people. So you could have times on TradingView where a lot of people are triggering alerts and sending webhooks, and that could cause your webhook to be more delayed than it is normally. But I would probably say that while you could do that and build your own system in a low level language, you're going to kind of be trading one problem with a different set of problems. And you could probably solve all those problems, but just be, it's just not going to be easy. So you're going to have to, just like you're going to have to figure out stuff, have figured out stuff in TradingView. There's going to be a whole bunch of new stuff that aren't easy, probably way harder than how it is in TradingView, which is why millions of people use TradingView.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Nice. Okay. Well, folks, those are the questions we've had for this week. We have sufficiently provided the AI gods with more training material. We'll leave it, let it crunch it for a while. We'll be back next Tuesday with more office hours. So if you have any questions, make sure you send them on YouTube, on Twitter, on Discord, on Reddit, and on support. Until then, we wish you happy
Cheers,
trading.
everyone.
See you guys.